I want to talk about a concept that was introduced to me by one of my favorite role-playing games, Exalted. It's a concept I call moving at the speed of plot. I was recently reminded of this because I've been having interactions with the power scaling versus battle and death battle community. So in Exalted, there are a race of beings called the Fairfolk. If you want to be reductive, you could call them fairy. But more accurately, they are beings that come from outside reality. The laws of reality don't really apply to them. And thus the laws of reality don't really apply to the limits of their strength or speed or intelligence. And the big thing about Fairfolk was that they loved stories. Since they were beings of non-reality, they loved making things into reality. So every Fairfolk was larger than life. Every Fairfolk was faster than you could possibly believe, stronger than you could possibly believe, more beautiful than you could possibly believe, can destroy universes in an instant. But Fairfolk could still be stronger and weaker than other Fairfolk. And they did this by moving at the speed of plot. If a normal human or any other creature had a speed of 3 miles per hour, then they would move 3 miles every hour. If another creature doubled that speed, they would move 6 miles every hour. The way you outsped a normal mortal was just by moving more miles in less time. Fairfolk moved differently, though. Feet had no meaning to them. The only thing that mattered was story, so they measured their distance by waypoints. And the distance between one waypoint and the next was basically any distance between one significant event and the next significant event happening. So if a Fairfolk is able to move one waypoint per hour, maybe they'll move from a carriage to a bar that they'll have an important conversation in 1 hour. Or maybe that Fairfolk will move from that bar to another country on the other side of the world in that same hour, because it's still one waypoint. One waypoint is the distance between whatever next significant thing happens. Faster Fairfolk can move more waypoints in less time. That means that they progress through their own personal story faster. Fairfolk did the same thing for strength and appearance and other stats. They didn't actually care about the limits of the universe, they operated by the limits of story. And even the weakest Fairfolk can break any of the laws of the universe that they wanted, but were limited by their own Fairfolk measured stats. And the reason I thought about this is because I saw a video where someone was talking about how Sonic the Hedgehog can run thousands of universes in a day. And my initial reaction was, what does that even mean? Then I remembered the Fairfolk, and I was like, oh, I know what that means. If nothing significant happens in any of those universes, he's moving one waypoint per day. So whenever someone says something crazy like Goku can move through a dead timeline, or Gold Experience Requiem can unwrite its own unwritten existence, all of this starts making a shocking amount of sense if you start measuring it in units relative to plot, instead of units relative to absolute distance and force in reality. Let me know if you want a part 2 about how to attack Fairfolk in the plot to kill them.